experience pain. You be trying to escape. I've been trying to find a better way to a better place. Drop to my knees and pray, but I can't find the words to say. I just want to keep it 1,000 with you, but can you handle my real? Hey, do you know how I feel? Cause everybody say they with you, ain't really with you.
Can you make sure I'm clear on there with the yeah, with my sound.
Gotta be honest with you, ain't no counterfeit. I won't stop till we on top like condiment. Oh no, I cannot stop here. You can't be timid and triumphant, had to drop feel. They gon' see the kingdom coming through the front door. Pronto, dominoes, let's go. Don't make no sense to run away when you this close. Gotta stay 10 toes, get yours. Sometimes you gotta break down just to break through. Yeah, they always gonna be what it is.
Yeah.
Separate the fake from the real. Hands high, lifted to the one that I live for. Yeah, I really think it's time for a breakthrough. Breakthrough came through screaming breakthrough. Breakthrough came through screaming breakthrough. Breakthrough came through screaming breakthrough. Breakthrough.
God, can you hear me? I want to know if you can hear me. I'm calling on your name. I feel the devil trying to get me. I've been up, I've been down, I've been in, I've been out. What good is having friends when your family ain't around? And if we talking pain, I'm talking enormous amounts. And if we talking change, I think my fam might need some count. I went from moving ounces to mountains, was lost till he found me. I went from breaking dope to breaking chains. My life ain't the same. I accepted the challenge.
What's up, family? It's a few minutes after 12. Good afternoon. This is the day that the Lord has made. We're going to rejoice and be glad in it. Please do me a favor. Hit that like button. Hit that share button. Tag Lolly Dolly, everybody, somebody, and let them know Prophet Ramone and the squad, we are live. The RP show is live. And I'm excited about what we're going to be discussing today. For those of you that are ballers and shot callers, I want you to give me a shout out. Drop something in the comments and let me know you're there. Throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. Let your boy know you are in his house today. Please do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that share button, and throw them hands in the air. You can like actually throw some emoji hands in the air like, I'm here, Prophet. We are live. I'm so excited. Today is Tuesday. I got to look at my calendar. Tuesday, February the 2nd. And wow, what an amazing day it is. And what an amazing God we serve. The Bible says angels bow before him, right? Yeah. Or is that the song that says that? I don't even know if the Bible says it. It just sounds good. Angels bow before him, heaven and earth adore him. I don't know. I got to check to see if it's a scripture that say that. So anyway, shout out to all of my tribe members. Facebook, shout out to all of my tribe members. YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, Twitter, LinkedIn. If you're on Mars, thank you for joining us today and being a part of this discussion. Listen, y'all, I got a few things I want to share with y'all before we get into our discussion today. It's going to be centered around the question, which one are you? Which one are you? And this is connected to entrepreneurship. So I want you to think about that question, which one are you? But before I answer, will give you an opportunity to give me an answer, let me say that this has been an extraordinary year so far. I mean, God is doing some amazing things for his people, y'all. And just the testimonies that we're hearing about what God is doing in the lives of his people, it is extraordinary. And I truly believe, I don't know if you agree with me on this. You can let me know if you agree with me on this in the comments. By the way, if you don't agree with me, express your disagreement. I don't like when people disagree and they unwilling to express it. But if you agree with me, then you can give me some feedback in the comments. Here's what I want to say. God is really challenging us to focus on getting our financial or our economic lives in order for 2021. I know there are a lot of things that prophets and prophetic people are talking about, but I truly believe, and not just because it's my assignment, but I truly believe it's some prophetic echoes coming from heaven with regard to you and I getting our financial life in order, getting our economic lives in order. Some of you familiar with a lot of the lives that we hosted from November 2019 all the way to July 2020. And we started those prophetic lives months before there was a quote unquote pandemic. And during those lives, I shared a lot of stories connected to the book of Exodus, when God told Prophet Moses and the children of Israel that he was going to bring them out. And the last transaction that they experienced was an economic transaction. So if you agree with me on that, please let me know by dropping something in the comments to let me know you agree with me that God is really concerned about our financial life, our economic life. And even if you don't agree with me, there are people who do agree with me, and I'm going to be focusing on that. So which one are you? Which one are you? I'm not even going to, I'm twisting. I know we talked about today's episode last night, but I'm putting a little twist to it. I'm going to put my own little remix to this question. Which one are you? So I'm going to give you 5 different characteristics, and I want you to put in the comments, which one are you? Are you a worker or a laborer? That means you work on a job, you're an employee. Are you a hustler? That means you might not be working a job, you might not have a business system, but you just out there hustling. You selling food on the side, or you cutting grass on the side, or you do hair or do nails. Are you a hustler? Are you an entrepreneur? And I'll talk about what an entrepreneur is. That means you got a legitimate business going. You might be a self-employed entrepreneur. You might be a real estate agent. You might be some type of sole proprietor or a network marketer. Are you a business owner, which means you have an EIN number, you have a LLC, you have an accounting system, and or are you an investor? That means you're not really doing no business. You ain't really out there grinding, but you taking a few extra dollars and you putting it into other investment opportunities. So I want some of y'all to share with me, where are you in those 5 characteristics? Are you a worker? That means you're a laborer or an employee. Are you a hustler? You just out there grinding. You getting it from the muscle. Are you an entrepreneur? That means you might be a little more polished than just a hustler. Are you a business owner? Or are you an investor? And if you don't really know who you are, which one do you think you are? I would like to know that. Some of y'all share with me in the comments, what do you think you are out of all 5? Which one are you? Okay, Samantha on Facebook, she says, I'm a hustler. I'm a hustler, baby. That's who you are. Oh my God. She said, I'm a hustler, I'm an entrepreneur and business owner. You that hustler, huh, girl? Which one are you? Come on, somebody give me some feedback. I want some more of y'all to share with me, who do you think you are? Which one are you? Are you a worker? You work a job, you're a W-2 employee. You're a hustler. You just get it from the muscle. You just got that grinding and you out there getting it. She said, that's what I was just singing. I'm a hustler, baby. I just want you to know, huh? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a business owner? Or are you an investor? Which one are you? Which one are you? So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Which one are you? And I really want to show you that no matter which one you are, what you laughing at? Oh, you an investor? What you I told you I'm gonna start capping y'all. Y'all be careful what you put in them comments, cause I told y'all I'm throwing shade this season. So if you put something on social media and I catch it and you lying, if you capping, I'm telling. I'm gonna come on there and say, nah, boo, you ain't that. Stop lying to everybody. Samantha said, okay, now Lula says she's an entrepreneur, business owner, worker, and hustler. You just all the above, huh? Come on, girl. I like that. I like that. Which one are you? Now, I want to walk through a few things to touch on each of these 5 characteristics, no matter which one you are, because I want you to give an honest assessment of yourself. This is very important, y'all. Please listen to me. I know I be joking a lot, but this is very important because there's a thing called self-awareness. There's a thing called, for my hood figures, keeping it 100. There's a thing called honesty and truth. And when you look at these 5 characteristics, these 5 attributes when it comes to work, when it comes to hustle, when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to business ownership and investing, you have to give yourself an honest assessment. You got to give yourself a critical look, and you got to decide based on where you are right now, which one of those are you, based on your history, based on what you've done in your life up to this point. Which one are you? Now, I'm gonna use the entrepreneurship as a middle ground. That's why I put in the hashtag entrepreneurship, because no matter what you do, it's connected to entrepreneurship. So whether you are a worker, whether you are a hustler, whether you are a business owner, or whether you are an investor, for any of those things to exist, there has to be a concept of entrepreneurship in that ecosystem. In other words, the worker won't have a job if an entrepreneur didn't create a job. The hustler wouldn't have a hustle if there was not a market that entrepreneurs created. The business owner wouldn't have a business system if there was no entrepreneur who either started the business, organized it, or operated it, or actually oversee it. So it wouldn't be no business ownership if it wasn't no entrepreneur. It wouldn't be no investments if there was no entrepreneur trying to figure out new areas to invest in. So everything we do in these 5 are connected to entrepreneurship. Now, I like to look at entrepreneurship, and maybe some of y'all haven't thought about this, but I like to look at entrepreneurship in the marketplace, similar to how we look at prophetic ministry in the church. See, I know this is going to resonate with a lot of y'all prophetic people. So I want us for a moment to look at entrepreneurship similar to how we look at prophetic ministry. So entrepreneurship in the church, we're going to put it against or parallel it with prophetic ministry in the church. Okay? Are y'all with me? Yeah. So when you think about prophetic ministry in the church, it's easy for us to understand that everybody ain't a prophet. Right? So just because somebody prophesies don't mean they're a prophet. So you got people who can prophesy because they have the gift of prophecy. They can prophesy because they're around prophetic people. They can prophesy because they know the general rule of prophecy to edify, exhort, and comfort. There are people who sing and who preach and who serve in churches that are not prophets, but they are extremely prophetic, right? But it doesn't necessarily make them a prophet. But then you have people who are prophets who prophesy, but that's not the only thing they do, because they carry the mantle or the weight of a prophet, which means they have certain characteristics. There are certain attributes. There are certain things about prophets that distinguish them from other Christians who might be prophetic or who might have the ability to prophesy. Am I correct so far? So there's a difference between a prophet and a prophetic Christian. There's a difference between a prophet who prophesies and a Christian who prophesies. I think we can all agree on that. So just because somebody prophesies, just because somebody's prophetic, just because somebody can share with you what God say, and tell you what they heard from the Lord doesn't make them a prophet. It just means that they are prophetic. Now, you can become prophetic the more you're around prophets. You can become prophetic the more you learn about prophets and prophetic ministry. If you take a class on prophecy or prophetic ministry, you become more familiar with how to hear from the Lord, which means you become more prophetic, but it doesn't necessarily make you a prophet. Well, entrepreneurship is the same way in the marketplace. Just because you are doing things that are entrepreneurial doesn't necessarily mean you are an entrepreneur. I want you to catch this, because if you're not aware of who you are in the marketplace, it's going to affect your success. And we, ladies and gentlemen, tribe members, wherever you are, whoever you are, we don't have time to waste on fluffing our own feathers, assuming we are something we're not. Because just like a prophet, if you are a prophet, you're not known as a prophet just because you prophesy, just because you are prophetic. You are known as a prophet because there are certain attributes, there are certain characteristics. Well, how do you know if somebody's a prophet? Well, you just look at how prophets were in the Bible. Look at their characteristics. Look at their lives. Look at their behavior patterns. Look at their level of commitment. Look at their consistency. Look at their track record. So when you gather all that data in the Bible about prophets, it helps you to determine what a prophet actually looks like. So it's the same way with entrepreneurship. If you are an entrepreneur, there are certain attributes, certain characteristics, certain things that make you who you are. Now, you can be a worker working on a job and still be an entrepreneur, but you just have not developed your entrepreneurship. You have not developed that talent, that ability. But trust me, everybody that says they're an entrepreneur are not entrepreneurs. All right? But it's important for you to know which one you are based on where you are in your life in terms of the marketplace, and based on the history that you have. So let's go through a few scenarios. If you're a worker, that means you're working on a job. That means you're not making the final decisions because you're not the boss, you're not the owner of the business, but you just have the ability to support somebody else's vision, and you're very, very good at that. It's okay for you to be that, because just because you're a worker doesn't mean you can't be entrepreneurial. Just because you're a worker doesn't mean you can't own a business. Just because you're a worker doesn't mean you can't be an investor. But what it means is your livelihood cannot be based on being a hustler, an entrepreneur, a business owner, or an investor if it's just not in your DNA to be those things. If it's in your DNA to work for someone, to serve another vision, to help build another company, trust me, there are a lot of wealthy people. There are a lot of millionaires. There are a lot of people whose lives have totally changed because they are workers. They clock in and they work for somebody who is an entrepreneur, who is a hustler, who is a business owner, who is an investor. And because they are aware of their greatest strength, guess what happened? They change their lives. Because if you are a worker, that means you have to have your livelihood connected to a job. Then you have to accept that and get extremely good at not just doing what you do to make your living, but to be even better at not just making a living, but managing the living that you make and learning how to multiply that living that you make. I hope I'm making sense. So for those of you that are workers, that means you're working on a job. That means you're a W-2 employee. Just because you don't like the work don't mean you ain't a worker. Did you catch that? Okay, I'm a swimmer. I know how to swim. at one point, I don't know if I still got it, but at one point, I could hold my breath underwater for up to a minute. So I was a pretty decent swimmer and still can swim. But here's my point. Just because I don't like to swim no more doesn't mean I'm not a swimmer. I know how to swim. So I don't necessarily have to love it. This is one of the misconceptions some of you got to remember. I don't have to love it to do it. Because it's not me loving to swim, but if I'm in water and I'm not close to shore and I have no choice, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna swim, or else I'm gonna drown. And there are people right now who are workers. You are good at going and finding a job, making money, but you sitting home broke. Talking about, I'm trying to get a hustle. I'm trying to make a couple dollars. You need to go work. That's what you're extremely good at. That's your strength. We just got to keep it 100. There are a lot of people I talk to who are just, they're really good. Okay, all right. They're really good. They're really good at working. But because they have this fascination with hustling, they have this fascination with being an entrepreneur, they have this fascination with owning a business, they have this fascination with buying stocks and being investors because they think they're going to get rich overnight and their lives are going to change. They're going to be, you know, like with a bikini and some drawers on side of an island somewhere on the other side of the world in 6 months. Because they have that belief, that misconception in that belief, they refuse to work when that's their greatest strength. Because watch this, there are some people who are hustlers who are not necessarily workers, but they have to work a job as a hustle until they're able to leverage that job to finance their hustle. I hope I'm making sense to y'all. I really do. I hope I'm making sense to y'all. How many of y'all agree with me so far with what I'm saying? You just know you a worker. And there's nothing wrong, because see, I don't like this whole notion, and I'm going to be honest, and I know this goes against some people, a lot of people that I know, but I'm going to go against this. I'm going to refute that. Everybody's not an entrepreneur. Ain't no different than being prophetic. I'm not going to be around here telling everybody they're a prophet because they can prophesy. No, you're just extremely prophetic. But you're not a prophet. So that means you have to stay in your lane and do what you do best, whether you're a singer. Think about if somebody can sing. Let's use that as an example. I'm trying to plug my phone up. Make sure I got some life on my phone. So let's use that example. Who's a good singer? Who's a very well-known singer that's really good? Yeah, we talking about gospel now. We ain't in the world today. We ain't out in the club now. We gospel singing. How many of y'all? Somebody tell me a good gospel singer.
I like Tasha Cobbs.
Tasha Cobbs.
I like her.
Perfect example. Thank you.
Yeah, Tasha.
Oh, you working today, huh? Okay, I hear you over there.
Yes, yeah.
She said Tasha Cobbs.
Yeah, I like her.
Okay, so let's use Tasha Cobbs as an example. You have heard Tasha Cobbs sing, right? And that girl can blow. William Murphy, her spiritual father, he's one of my favorite singers. I mean, just something about his voice. Oh my God, every time I hear him, he just, you know, he was just singing for Pastor Spence, Homegoing. And Lord have mercy, every time I hear him sing, it's like, man, that guy, he just sings so effortlessly. So Tasha Cobbs got his DNA, and she's his spiritual daughter. So both of them are really good examples of people who are not prophets, but they are extremely prophetic. But their prophetic ability is seen in what they do when they're doing their job or when they're working. Their job is to sing, right? Their job is to blow and to minister to us. But while they're doing their job, while they're working as singers, guess what happens? That prophetic anointing comes upon them, and they start prophesying in their singing. They start ministering prophetically because they've used the platform of their main work to deliver a message and to tap into another dimension of the prophetic. Well, it's the same way. If you are a worker, if it's in you to work and you cannot live off a hustle, if it's in you to work and you cannot live off entrepreneurship, if it's in you to work and you cannot live off owning a business or investing, that means as a worker, you got to lean into that thing. There are a lot of people today leaving tons of money on the table from working because they swear up and down they hustlers. They entrepreneurs. They business owners. They investors. Listen here, boo. I'm going to be the one to tell you today. If your hustle, if your entrepreneurship, if your business ownership and investments, if they are not financing your quality of life, if they're not paying the bills, if they're not covering your basic needs, guess what you need to do? You need to go to work.
Period.
You need to go to work. Or you need to double down or triple down or quadruple down in your hustle, your entrepreneurship, in your business ownership, or in your investments. It's either you're not a hustler, an entrepreneur, a business owner, or an investor, or you're just lazy and you're sorry you've given up. And if you're any of those things, guess what you need to do until you regroup and reset? You need to work so you can take care of your basic responsibilities. Or you need to be in a situation where you can afford to carry that load until you're in a position to do it. Because I don't know real hustlers who ain't hustling. I don't know real entrepreneurs who ain't doing entrepreneurship. I don't know business owners who ain't owning businesses. I don't know investors that ain't investing. Guess what? I don't know workers that ain't working. So a worker is that person who understands the role that they play. Now, if you're a worker, because I want to answer this question, Prophet Ramone, what if I am a worker? What if I'm a career-minded person? I want to have a job. I want to retire. I want to work 20, 30 years. You know, that's what I want to do, whether you're in military or whether you're working for a company. How can I become a hustler or an entrepreneur? Well, maybe you never will be a hustler or an entrepreneur because you're a worker, but you can own a business. You can be an investor. There are a lot of people who are not hustlers and entrepreneurs that own businesses, but guess what they do? They work, they save their money, they're responsible with their money, and when they have enough money, guess what they do? They either start a business and hire people because they can afford people to run the business, or they finance entrepreneurs who are doing things in the entrepreneurial world, or they just invest in other entrepreneurs or in other businesses. So you can actually be a business owner or an investor as a worker, but you just can't wake up one day and say, I'm gonna be a hustler. You can't just wake up one day and say, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. You can be a business owner. You can be an investor. But if you're a worker and you want to be an investor or a business owner, then that means you got to work and you got to save and you got to become very, very good, not just as a worker, but a worker who knows how to make money, manage the money they make so that they can at some point open a business, start a business, invest in a business to multiply the money that they made and they managed. All right? So let's look at the second characteristic. We're talking about hustlers. Now, for me, I know I'm an entrepreneur. I mean, my history proves it. I never wanted to work. Now, at first, I never wanted to work because I wanted to run the streets. But running the streets means I wanted to hustle. And once I became an adult, once I got saved, once I realized that, okay, I got to be responsible, I got to pay bills, I got to take care of my kids and my family, for a few years, I did work a job. And I probably worked 4 or 5 different jobs because I just couldn't keep a job. And it wasn't that I was just being fired for insubordination. It was just I was bored. And I just couldn't never put my heart in it because I always felt like I was supposed to be hustling. I always felt like I was supposed to be an entrepreneur. I always felt that. Even when I was in the streets, I felt that. Now, this is important. But I did start with a job. Now, once I got fired from my last job, I made the commitment that I'm going to hustle. I thought at the time I was doing what entrepreneurs do, but I was not educated enough to know what I was talking about. I did not have the information on being an entrepreneur. I just thought, oh, you're an entrepreneur, you just wake up every day and you get out there and you make it happen. But what I realized was, and this happened for years, even after me and my wife got married, I would wake up every day and I had that same mentality. I had that same mantra. I'm finna get out there. I don't care if I gotta pick cans. I don't care if I gotta clean carpet. I don't care if I gotta wash windows, if I got to babysit pets. But what I had to realize at a certain point was, even though I am an entrepreneur, but I was undeveloped as an entrepreneur. So a hustler, somebody who just is a born hustler, they are actually undeveloped entrepreneurs. This might be y'all first time hearing that from me. I want somebody to catch that revelation. An entrepreneur is an undeveloped hustler. A hustler, rather, is an undeveloped entrepreneur. Somebody put that in the comments for me. That's really, really good. So if you think you're an entrepreneur, but you don't have your stuff together, you're a hustler. That means you're an undeveloped entrepreneur. It's just like a prophet. Before I became a seasoned prophet, I was a budding prophet, which means you had to monitor my prophesying, because maybe my emotions was tied into it. Maybe I got a little too hyper and active and you had to pull me back a little bit, or, you know, maybe I would go too long with my prophesying, or maybe I wouldn't prophesy enough. It's a different stroke for different folks. But when you are a hustler, that means you can get up every day and you can make something happen. You know how to rub two nickels together. You know how to walk in a room and you know how to work that room like nobody else. You know how to figure out how to get them $80 to pay that bill this week. You know how to call to get that payment deferred to the back end of your loan. You know all that. You're a hustler. You know how to get out there and find $100 so that you can eat today. That's a hustler, but that doesn't mean you are an entrepreneur. A hustler is an undeveloped entrepreneur. And see, for years, I thought I was an entrepreneur. People used to ask me, I had cards and all. So what do you do? Oh, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a real estate entrepreneur. Number one, I wasn't doing real estate. My wife was a real estate professional. I was just a side hustler, because I was like Mr. Fix-It. I'll do whatever I needed to do to get through. So I'm trying to show you something. I was a hustler. The moment I started educating myself, and this is why this is so important, because a lot of people, they just overlook education. They overlook training. They overlook learning, and they think if they just work hard enough, if they hustle long enough, that they're gonna figure it out. You're not gonna figure it out like that. It took me years to come to my doggone senses to realize, wait a minute, I'm not an entrepreneur. It's in my DNA, but I'm undeveloped. It's no different than when I was a prophet. I was a prophet, but I was a budding prophet. I wasn't a seasoned prophet. It's kind of like Elijah when he went and connected to Elisha. When he met Elisha, Elisha was a prophet. He was called to be a prophet, but he wasn't ready to step into prophetic ministry. He couldn't walk in the shoes of prophet Elijah because he didn't have experience. He didn't have education. He didn't have the background. So what he had to do was he had to follow Elijah for almost 20 years. Some theologians say it was longer than 20 years. But let's just be conservative and say from the time Elisha threw the mantle on Elijah, it was a 20-year period from that time to the time he split the water and Elijah was taken up. So you don't know how long it's going to take you. And you can't use, I was an entrepreneur at 8. I was an entrepreneur at 12. No, you was a hustler. You wasn't polished. You didn't have all the answers. You didn't understand certain things. Yes, you can use those things to your advantage now, but we're talking about keeping it real, knowing which one we are. So if you're a hustler, you are an undeveloped entrepreneur. Now let's get into the entrepreneur. That was a good one, y'all. That was a real good one. For all you hustlers out there, you know how to get out there and make it happen. You know how to get out there and find a dollar. You know how to pay the bills. You know how to make it, you know how to figure it out. But if you haven't put your stuff together, if you don't have and when I say your stuff, I'm finna explain to you what I mean by that, because an entrepreneur is a developed hustler, which means, here are 3 things. And some of you that are on the blueprint game plan, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say what I'm saying about entrepreneurship, because I have a whole course in the blueprint game plan on being an entrepreneur. I talk about entrepreneurship in depth. Now, here is what I define an entrepreneur as, and I'm going to simplify this definition. An entrepreneur is, number 1, a developed hustler. So that means you have the DNA in you. It's something in you that wakes you up when an alarm clock ain't got to wake you up. It's something in you that even though you may have to have seasons when you work on a job, you're never satisfied working on that job, although you're respectful, because you know you have what it takes to own your own job, which is your business. An entrepreneur is somebody who knows how to make things happen. So an entrepreneur is simply a developed hustler, which means as a developed hustler, you know how to organize, you know how to operate, and you know how to oversee business exchanges. That right there, somebody should be giving me an offering for. For real. You should be giving me an offering for what I just said. Some of y'all gonna have to go back and rewatch this. I said an entrepreneur is a developed hustler who knows how to organize, operate, and oversee business exchanges. I didn't say a business, because there are a lot of entrepreneurs who don't own businesses. Most people who say they own businesses don't own businesses. Did y'all catch what I just said? So if you're saying you're an entrepreneur, what you're saying is, I'm a hustler, baby, but I am a developed hustler. How you know you're a developed hustler? Because you know how to organize, operate, and oversee business exchanges. Entrepreneurship is all about making business exchanges. Let me give you an example, which means if you're not making an exchange, if you got a product, let me use my coffee as an example. If you got a product that you're selling, this is a product, right? Or if you have a service like coaching or consulting or cleaning or roof work, if you got a product and a service and you're not able to organize those products and services, operate those products and services, even if it involves other people, but you're an organizer, and oversee those products and services by making exchanges with those products and services. In other words, you're using those products and services to make money. If you're not doing that on a regular basis, you're not an entrepreneur. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean being an entrepreneur is not in your DNA. I'll reword it and say you're not a developed entrepreneur. That's a better way to say it. I'm not going to say you're not an entrepreneur. You're not a developed entrepreneur. Because if you don't know how to take your ideas, your products, your services, whatever they are, organize them, operate them, and oversee them with regard to business exchanges, which means you're taking them to the market, and when you introduce them to the market is an exchange giving you money for those products and services. If you have not been able to do that, it doesn't mean you're not an entrepreneur. You're not a developed entrepreneur. You're still a hustler. Because now you're getting up today saying, man, I got to make $80. But then you don't make no money for 3 days, and then the next day you like, I got to make $500. And then you don't make no money for 2 weeks, and then you're like, oh my God, because you're not a business owner yet, but you're not an entrepreneur yet either. You're still a hustler. You have not developed as an entrepreneur. And the reason why you have not developed as an entrepreneur, because you have not learned enough about entrepreneurship. So that means you have to learn more about business exchanges. You have to learn more about products and services. You have to learn more about sales and marketing. These are things that you just got to know if you're going to be successful as an entrepreneur. All right, number 4. The 4th characteristic is a business owner. Do we have any questions? If anybody has a question, please drop the question in the comment. So we have a business owner. Now, what is a business owner? First of all, there is a difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner, because most entrepreneurs never convert over to a business. So let me walk you through my process. I was a hustler for years, right? So for years, I was able to get out there and make stuff happen. I knew how to go out there and make $100. I knew how to find a deal and work my way in the deal to get enough money to pay my bills. I was a hustler. But then I realized I had to learn entrepreneurship. I had to learn how to develop as a hustler and to take my products and my services and my ideas and the concepts that I had in my brain, and I had to organize them. I had to learn to operate them, and I had to learn how to oversee them in business exchanges. So I really had to build a muscle to get better at sharing my products and services and making sure that I was exchanging my products and services. It's just like what I'm doing right now. I'm giving you information, and I'm not getting a profit from this, but guess what I'm doing? I'm giving you information. It might not be for a profit, but it's for a purpose that at some point will lead to a profit. Because even if you don't purchase something from me today, someone else 6 months from now may watch this video and say, he knows enough about what I want to learn for me to purchase whatever the products and services he has. But if I did not organize, operate, and oversee the exchanges of the intellectual property that I have in my brain, the experience and the education that I have about business and finances and entrepreneurship, I would have never exchanged it with you, which means I would have never done what entrepreneurs have to do. Even if I don't make a profit, I have to make an exchange for a purpose that leads to a profit. That's one of the reasons why I'm always on social media. That's one of the reasons why I'm always doing webinars. That's one of the reasons why strangers can call me or email or text, and I'll sit on the phone with them 30 minutes. You know why? I'm making exchanges. I'm an entrepreneur. And once I figured that out, I actually figured out my money problem. Because there's no way you're going to continue to make exchanges every day with what you have, and at some point, you don't see money come in. It just doesn't work like that. So a business owner is not an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur is not a hustler. So once I started learning about entrepreneurship, then I was no longer a hustler. Now I became a developed hustler, which is called an entrepreneur. But then I started doing what entrepreneurs do, and I realized, wow, I'm limited in what I can do myself. I'm limited in my time. I'm limited in my abilities. And I realized that even though I had an LLC, even though I had a 501c3, even though I had permits and certifications and occupancy certificates for buildings, guess what I didn't have? I didn't have a business, which means I was not a business owner, because in order to have a business, you have to have a system. A business is a system of exchanges. So once I started a business, I became a business owner, and what made me a business owner was I created systems that worked even if I wasn't having to physically work them. So of course, business systems require people, business systems require processes, business systems require products, but you can't put people, like people who work for you, products that you create, processes, systems, and things that you put together that work for you, steps. You can't put that in a business unless you create a business system. Once you put all that together, it's like having a pot, and you know in that pot you need butter, you need onions, you need celery, you need carrots. You got to put all those ingredients in that pot, and then you mix it up, and then all of a sudden you come out with some gravy. But if there was certain ingredients missing in that pot, it wouldn't be gravy. And so your business is like the gravy of your hustling and your entrepreneurship. So you got to go from being a hustler to being an entrepreneur to being a business owner. Now remember, if you are a worker, if you are a hustler, if you are an entrepreneur, it doesn't mean you can't own a business. It just means you have to learn the fundamentals of owning a business, because you have to develop and progress through each of those stages so that you can see success in your business. And of course, an investor is someone who takes their money, their cash flow, their liquid income, and they invest it or they drop it in certain business systems that move quicker than inflation, that move quicker than whatever it is that they're doing. But in order for you to invest, you have to have working capital. You have to have money. So whichever one you are, wherever you fall in that broad spectrum of those 5 characteristics, a worker, a hustler, an entrepreneur, a business owner, or an investor, it's going to be very important for you to connect all of those dots to this concept of entrepreneurship. Because whether you're working on a job or investing in a business where people work on a job, it's all connected to entrepreneurship. And even if you're not an entrepreneur, you may have entrepreneurial tendencies. And in order for those entrepreneurial tendencies to work, which means they're creating income for you and you're profiting from them and you're generating revenue from them, in order for that to work, you have to develop yourself. This goes back to our blueprint game plan. So if you do not have this blueprint game plan, I want you to text "I'm ready" today. Tell me, Prophet Ramone, I'm ready. I need that blueprint game plan. What is the blueprint game plan? This is our wealth building system that we put together. This is our online virtual education and training platform that we put together to teach you these things. Because when I started my hustling, when I started my entrepreneurship, when I started my first business, when I created my first investment opportunity, truth is, I didn't know none of what I'm talking about. I didn't know none of this. I figured it out, and I took a lot of losses. I had a lot of setbacks. I failed a lot of times, but I was so determined that my hunger for education, my hunger for training, my hunger to learn, it just superseded anything that I experienced. Because when I used to experience certain failures, when I had certain setbacks, I used to think to myself, because I used to give up like hundreds of times in my head. I'm like, man, I ain't gonna never make it. I'm never gonna get out of debt. I'm never gonna be financially free. I ain't gonna never know what it feels like to have money that I ain't gotta spend. I ain't gonna never be wealthy. I ain't gonna never be a millionaire. I ain't gonna never have a successful business. I ain't gonna never be what I see other people on TV. And then when the internet came out, it even got worse, because I'm looking at everybody and they just balling out of control. They living good, even though someone was capping. But at the time, I'm just like, man, I wish I can experience that. I don't know what it feels like to have that. That got to be a good feeling. And I realized that as long as I was willing to learn, as long as I was willing to educate myself, as long as I was willing to like really put my head down and say, you know what? I'm not a business owner. I'm not yet. I am an entrepreneur, but I'm an undeveloped entrepreneur. I'm a hustler, but I'm still rough around the edges. I ain't got it together. I don't have the sales game down. I don't understand marketing. I don't understand finance. I don't understand accounting. Just the basic fundamentals of running a business system. I had to accept that I didn't know it and I needed to learn it. And for many of you that have dreams and desires and ambitions, I really want to challenge you. I really want to challenge you to, even if it's not with us, to find an ecosystem that you can connect to and just engulf yourself with learning as much as you can. I have an affirmation that I read every day. I'm going to read a part of this affirmation. For those of you that don't have the blueprint game plan and you want to purchase a blueprint game plan, I want you to text "I'm ready" to 404-478-7213. 404-478-7213.
Yeah, Floyd, he gave a statement. Very good.
Okay.
He just said, Prophet, you are always on point with your content.
Thank you, Floyd. YouTube?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you. He said, you're always on point with your content. I'm giving what I know and what I've experienced and what I've learned and what I work very hard every day to continue to develop and progress in and grow from. So it's not fluff. You know, people who know better, they can detect when somebody just, you know, flexing. But I want to read a part of this affirmation to y'all because it was one of, like, this affirmation, this is like one of many affirmations I read every day, but I want y'all to hear this. This part of the affirmation says, I am just as worthy, deserving, and capable of achieving everything I want in every area of my life as any other person on the earth. I think we can all agree with that. We are all worthy, we're all deserving, and we're all just as capable of achieving everything we want in any area of our life like any other person on earth. That's something you got to believe. Because see, for a long time, I wanted to be financially free. I wanted to have a successful business. I wanted to be a millionaire. I wanted to free my family from the perpetual cycle of poverty. But just because I wanted it doesn't mean or didn't mean I was willing to do what I needed to get it. I was missing that part. So I woke up every day, man, I want to be free, man. I want to be out of debt. I wanted this, I wanted that. But I wasn't willing to do because I really didn't know what was needed and necessary. Here's the next part I want you to hear. The only thing that separates me from the most extraordinary life I can imagine is my level of commitment to becoming the person I need to be to achieve everything I want. When I caught that revelation, the only thing that separates me from achieving everything I want in my life is my level of commitment to learning to become who I need to be to achieve what I want. So basically, if I want to achieve something in life, I have to be willing to commit myself to learn to become that person. See, I'm learning right now to become a billionaire. I'm learning to become a billionaire. I'm learning to become a 10-figure billionaire. And guess what? The more I learn about billionaires, the more I study them, the more I engulf myself with their content and with the analytics and the science and the studies and all of the details behind what we see in their lives, the more I realize I have a lot of work to do. That's a long way from home. And guess what? It ain't no different than saying, I want to be a 6-figure earner. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be 7-figure earner. I want to be a multimillionaire. I want to be 8 or 9 figure earner. It's the same principle. I have to be committed. The only thing that separates you is your level of commitment. Is your level of commitment. So for example, for those of you that do not have a blueprint game plan, that means you might not know how to take your hustle and package it as a real organized, operating, overseeing entrepreneur. And then you got to know how to take being an entrepreneur and package it into a business system, structure that correctly, scale it correctly, develop yourself correctly. Well, you need content, you need training for that. You need to start listening to the message and the language and the information and data that reflects who you want to become. And the more you hear that message, the more you familiarize yourself with that language, the more you put yourself in that ecosystem, just like the young man Floyd just said. He's a part of our Blueprint program. This is somebody I didn't even know personally. This is one of the many people that I can testify about. Lives states away from us here in Atlanta, Georgia. But guess what? Heard content on YouTube, enjoyed what he heard, and I think he bought the whole Blueprint at one point, at one time. He was like, I need all that. But when he bought it, guess what he also did? He started feeding off the content. He started learning. He started listening to that message. It's not always like you're going to listen to this blueprint and I'm going to give you like this magical message or this one key that's going to break open Pandora's box. a lot of times it's just you listening, and then all of a sudden, boom, your own creativity, your own ingenuity, your own light comes on. You know how many books that I've read that I might have gotten like one thing out? Like I'm talking about this affirmation. The author who created this affirmation has like 10 books. I've read them. But only thing I remember out of all their books is the affirmation. That was the most important thing to me. But guess what? If it took me reading 10 books to get that one thing, it was worth it. Because that's $1 million game right there. I'm thinking like a billionaire, and I'm doing what I know I would have to do, which is to learn to become that from a book that was out of 10 books that an author wrote, but happened to put that affirmation in one of them. So you might get this blueprint game plan and go through, which most people never gonna go through all. It's like 500 or 600 videos that you're gonna have to go through. Training courses just galore. It's gonna take you probably a couple years to get through all of it. And then truth is, every week or two, I'm adding new content. I'm adding new courses. I'm elevating my game to give my people more tactics and more principles and practices. So I know I'm just ranting, y'all, but I want to challenge all of you. If you do not have a blueprint, take a look at our blueprint game plans. You could go to Ramonepreston.com. Go to Ramonepreston.com. That's our main web portal. When you click on Ramonepreston.com, RamonePreston.com, I'm going to go there while I'm talking to you. Y'all see it in the background? We're going to go to Ramonepreston.com. I'm getting ready to go, y'all, but I love y'all. Thank y'all for joining us today. Y'all know we'll be back tomorrow, 12 o'clock, every weekday, Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock p.m. The Ramone Preston Show is live, and I'm doing what I love to do. I love to help people. I love to educate and train people. This is my passion. My calling as a prophet has led me to this assignment, and I'm not letting up. So you go to Ramonepreston.com. That's all you have to do is go to Ramonepreston.com, and we have information of our blueprint game plans, our signature blueprint game plan, and really the best seller because it has all of our programs in it, is our ultimate all-in-one blueprint game plan. So if you go to Ramonepreston.com, you can click the ultimate all-in-one blueprint game plan, and it will literally take you to all the courses that we have in our blueprint. Look at all these courses we have. I mean, and I'm adding them every week. We got a manual in there to walk you through our steps. We have a goal setting course, financial literacy program. If you want to start and structure a holding company and you don't know how to, there's the Entrepreneurs course. We got a lot of courses in that blueprint game plan, and they are very, very good. All of them are video based. We do have some courses that have interactive workshops in them, but for the most part, you got hundreds and hundreds of videos that you can watch and receive personal mentoring from your phone, from your laptop, from your MacBook, from your tablet, from your iPad, or from your desktop, wherever you are. While you're on Ramonepreston.com, I want you to be a part of our $1,000 90-day challenge. We have 57 days remaining. The first 90 days of 2021, I'm challenging everybody to save a minimum of $1,000. So if you have not joined our Blueprint Game Plan Challenge, please, sir, please, ma'am, go to Ramonepreston.com/challenge and take a look. All you have to do is give us your information. We're going to add you to our $1,000 challenge list. And this is the second month of our 3-month, 90-day Blueprint $1,000 challenge. I want to help you get to your prophesied place, and I want to give you all the tips, all the tools, all the tactics, all the principles, all the practices, all the prophetic words you need to get to your prophesied place. So I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. We'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow. 12 o'clock noon. Don't meet me here. Beat me here. We got an amazing discussion that we're going to have tomorrow. I got so many discussions. I just don't even have enough time or days right now to discuss everything I want to. But I promise you, you're going to enjoy it tomorrow, 12 o'clock noon. Thank all of y'all, Facebook, YouTube. Appreciate all y'all so much. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please jump over to YouTube, click that bell. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers. I'm so proud of myself. I'm proud of my team. I'm proud of my tribe and all of the people that continue to support us to show the world that God is really concerned about us, not just spiritually, but he's also concerned about us economically. So I love y'all. Have an amazing Tuesday, and we'll see y'all tomorrow at 12 o'clock.